The words echoed in Brandon's mind long after the room went quiet. His hand was still on her throat, fingers tight, testing power the way he always did, expecting panic, a gasp, tears, the way authority usually folded, but Ms. Tiana Cole didn't give him any of that. Her breathing stayed even, her shoulders didn't rise, her eyes never left his, steady and unblinking, while desks scraped back, a backpack dropped, and a phone camera shook as students realized this wasn't a joke. "Let go," she said softly, not loud or angry, just precise. Brandon laughed and challenged her, and that was when the switch flipped, not visibly, but in a subtle shift of posture, feet grounded, breath lowered, training waking up like muscle memory. Her hands moved with exact control, breaking his balance, loosening his grip before he understood why, and in one motion he was pinned to a desk, pencils rattling, her voice calm in his ear as she said, "Wrong." The room erupted with gasps and shouts as phones rose higher and security rushed in, Brandon thrashing in shock and humiliation before she released him and stepped back, composed, hands open, as if nothing had happened. He staggered up, clutching his arm, spitting threats and invoking his father's name, while the cameras caught everything, especially her refusal to shrink. By lunch the footage was everywhere, by afternoon it reached the wrong people, because restraint cuts both ways and Tiana Cole had documented every threat, every vanished record, every whispered warning, and when the video went public those files didn't stay buried. Reporters asked questions the senator couldn't redirect, parents demanded hearings, former staff came forward, patterns emerged, and protection became proof. By week's end Brandon Hale was suspended pending expulsion, by month's end Senator Richard Hale was denying allegations no one believed, and Ms. Cole returned to her classroom after brief leave to students who stood not because they were told to, but because they had seen what quiet strength looked like and learned that silence isn't surrender. She wrote 3 words on the board, underlined once, "Respect is mutual," and in room 214 no one ever mistook restraint for weakness again. He never did. Ms. Cole looked up from the board, her tone calm and measured, and told him to sit down, but the class went still as he didn't move, his smirk widening while nervous chuckles rippled through the room and Selena whispered that she was dead because that was always how it worked. Brandon refused and teachers backed down, except Tiana Cole wasn't following that script. She repeated his name, her voice steady as stone, telling him again to take his seat, and her calm only fueled him, those eyes of his narrowing with the confidence of someone who had never been forced to yield. In front of 20 trembling students, he decided to make an example of her, stepping forward slowly as his music thumped faintly, gasps fluttering through the room, chairs creaking, phones rising in shaky hands, until suddenly his thick fingers clamped around her throat and slammed her back into the whiteboard, markers scattering as screams erupted, a book hit the floor, and someone yelled for him to stop while no one moved. Brandon leaned in, breath hot with arrogance, daring her to say it again as the class froze, hearts pounding louder than the clock, realizing this was no longer just another humiliation. Time seemed to slow as everyone expected panic or tears, but Ms. Cole didn't flinch, her calm eyes locked on his as she spoke in a low, cold voice, "Wrong move, soldier," words that confused the students but made Brandon blink, his confidence cracking just long enough for her to move. Her hand struck fast, fingers pressing a nerve in his wrist, pain collapsing his grip as she pivoted smoothly, twisted his arm, and used his weight against him, slamming him to the floor with a deafening thud that rattled desks and unleashed gasps, screams, and stunned shouts. Brandon groaned, clutching his arm in shock and rage as phones kept recording, and Miss Cole stepped back without striking again, breathing even, her voice unchanged as she told him to sit down. The words hit harder than any blow, and humiliation burned into fury as Brandon scrambled up, shouting that she was dead before storming out, knocking desks aside while phones followed him, capturing the image of a boy who ruled through fear now fleeing a teacher's calm. The door slammed, the windows trembled, and the classroom finally exhaled, everyone knowing the footage in their hands showed something no one had ever seen before. Brandon Hale brought down not by fear or force, but by one woman who refused to bend.